पादतीर्थे अम्बुबुद्धे श्री विष्णु नामनि भद्रे सकल कलशोहे शब्द सामान्य बुद्धि विष्णु सर्वेश वरेशे तदितरा समाधिर्यस्य न नारकी सह. One who thinks the deity in the temple to be made of wood or stone, who thinks of the spiritual master in the disciplic succession as an ordinary man, who thinks a Vaishnava in the Achyut Gotra to belong to a certain caste or creed, and who thinks of Charnamrita or Ganges water as ordinary water, is taken to be resident of hell. This is Padma Purana. From the facts presented in this verse, it appears that people in general should be controlled by a king until they come to the platform of Vaishnavas and Brahmanas, who are not under the control of anyone. Brahmana refers to one who knows Brahman, or the impersonal feature of the Absolute. And a Vaishnava is one who serves the Supreme Personality. Srila Prabhupada explains that the 7 islands being mentioned are the 7 categories. Srila Prithu Maharaj would be staying in India somewhere in between Mother Ganges and Imanamai. And Prabhupada explains somewhere in the region of Punjab of India. Now there is mention of Achyuta Gotra, the one who takes shelter of Lord Vishnu. He comes under the Achyuta Gotra. For such a person, there is no consideration of caste, creed, nationality. And then Prabhupada is quoting the famous verse from Padma Purana, which Prabhupada quotes a number of times. Considering the spiritual master to be an ordinary man, considering the deity to be made of stone or wood. Similarly, to consider the Jati Buddhi of Vaishnava. Actually, it is offensive. Therefore, it is said that such a person is a resident of hell. It is very interesting to note that it is such a clear mention or such a clear description there that Prithu Maharaj was controlling everyone except the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. Those who are Achyuta, who are taking shelter of Lord Achyuta. So Prithu Maharaj was controlling everyone. Other than the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. This is quite interesting. That means in the Vedic times, everyone is supposed to be under the control, other than the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. So this is quite interesting. You see, the modern day notion is that he you see, in the modern day times also, there is this notion of freedom not being under the control. And in the Vedic times also, there is this notion of freedom, which we can see. The modern day, there is a big talk about, okay, now let's have freedom, no rules, no regulations. We should not be bound to listen to anyone. Whatever we think right, we should be having the opportunity to do that. In the Vedic times, so Vedic times are not stringent times where everybody is bound, everybody is enslaved or engaged. In Vedic times also there is mention of freedom, but quite interesting. In the Vedic times, the freedom is delineated for Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, not for anyone. Not for anyone. Then you see, so therefore, indiscriminate freedom is destructive. So therefore, the Vedic times, so therefore, in fact, we can understand actually that therefore, you see, in the Vedic times, uh, the control of the king, who is himself a devotee of the Lord, is meant so that one can access that freedom, so that one becomes capable enough to access that freedom. Therefore, now this proves that whatever control is being talked about in Vedic times, that control is nothing but channelization towards freedom, or grooming towards freedom. That is the control. And therefore, you see, Vedic times are a proper care system. When a person is properly taken care of, here it is so clearly mentioned. The Prithu Maharaj had no control over Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. But Brahmanas and Vaishnavas don't need to be controlled. What for they need to be controlled? They are already serving Krishna. That's the point. So they are already serving Krishna. The control is required for those who are having destructive propensities, so that they are groomed and channelized towards service to Krishna. And when there is service to Krishna, there is full freedom. Is it not? Just like a child is controlled when he has to go to play, or when he has to watch TV or video game. But in study, he is not controlled. If he wants to study 10 hours, he can study 10 hours. If he wants to study 12 hours, he can study 12 hours. Nobody will stop. But if he wants to play 10 hours, then he will stop. So control is towards a destructive activity, is it not? Or a wasteful activity. But an auspicious activity, there is no question of control. That's the point. So this is how we can see how Vedic times are so robust, and whereas how the modern times are so shallow. Vis-a-vis we can see the contrast. Vis-a-vis. Yes.
So like everyone, people think that by following rules and regulations one becomes bound. And instead one becomes free from those revenues because the restriction is there because they are dragging us to animalism. That's why restriction is there. So it's so nice if one actually understands that it is freedom by surrender. When you surrender yourself to the laws of God and follow them, then you become free, liberated.
Yes.
Liberation is following.
Yes. So the Vedic rules and regulations are elevating and uplifting rather than constricting, rather than choking or strangulating, rather than choking or strangulating. It is elevating. So it's like a staircase towards freedom. What is the proof? We can see the proof here. We can see the proof here. So power. एकादशी महासत्र दीक्षा तत्र दिवौकसा समाजो ब्रह्मार्षिणं च Rajarishinaam cha Sattama. Once upon a time, King Prithu initiated the performance of a very great sacrifice, in which great saintly sages, Brahmanas, demigods from the higher planetary systems, and great saintly kings, known as Raja Rishis, all assembled together. In this verse, the most significant point is that although King Prithu's residential quarters were in India, between the rivers Ganges and Yamuna, the demigods also participated in the great sacrifice he performed. This indicates that formerly the demigods used to come to this planet. Similarly, great personalities like Arjuna, Yudhishthir, and many others used to visit higher planetary systems. Thus, there was interplanetary communication via suitable airplanes and space vehicles. Restrictions are only imposed for the unqualified. That's the point.
Restrictions are so that we don't make mistakes in the
Like one who doesn't know driving will not be given handle or access to the vehicle. But one who knows driving is not a problem.
But even one who knows driving is supposed to follow the driving rule.
Yes. Even one who knows driving is supposed to know. That's correct. Tasmin arhatsu sarveshu so architeshu yatharhata Putitha sadhuso madhye Taranam Mudarathiva. In that great assembly, Maharaj Prithu first of all worshipped all the respectable visitors according to their respective positions. After this, he stood up in the midst of the assembly, and it appeared that the full moon had arisen amongst the stars. According to the Vedic system, the reception of great exalted personalities as arranged by Prithu Maharaj in that great sacrificial arena is very important. The first procedure in receiving guests is to wash their feet, and it is learned from the Vedic literature that one time when Maharaj Yudhishthira performed Rajasuya Yajna, Krishna took charge of washing the feet of the visitors. Similarly, Maharaj Prithu also arranged for the proper reception of the demigods, the great sages, the Brahmanas, and the great kings. So it is quite interesting to see that, you see, in the Vedic times, nothing starts without offering of respect. Now, without respect, the foundation of respect, nothing is built. That's why Prabhupada is mentioning about Rajasuya Yajna, because in the Rajasuya Yajna, Krishna himself took charge of washing the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas. So that means it is such an important department. It's just like the most important person. He'll be doing the most important thing, and some side thing will be done by others. Is it not? The most important thing will be done by most important person. Krishna is offering respect. So offering of respect to the Vaishnavas is the foundation on which success of any ceremony can be built. Text 15. Pramsho Pinayata Bhujo Gaura Kanjarunekshanaha Sunasa Sumukha Somya Pinnam Saha Sudvit Jasmitaha King Prithu's body was tall and sturdy, and his complexion was fair. His arms were full and broad, and his eyes as bright as the rising sun. His nose was straight, and his face very beautiful, and his personality grave. His teeth were set beautifully in his smiling face. Amongst the four social orders, Brahman, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, the Kshatriyas, both men and women, are generally very beautiful, as will be apparent from the following verses. It is to be concluded that not only were Maharaj Prithu's bodily features attractive, as described here, but he had specific all auspicious signs in his bodily construction. As it is said, the face is the index of the mind. One's mental constitution is exhibited in his facial features. The bodily features of a particular person are exhibited in accordance with his past deeds. For according to one's past deeds, his next bodily features, whether in human society, animal society, or demigod society, are determined. This is proof of the transmigration of soul to different types of body. Srila Prabhupada is explaining here how the face is the index of the mind. Prithu Maharaj is very beautiful in his bodily constitution, and his stability and steadiness of Sharanagati was reflected on, or was reflected by his facial expressions. And Prabhupada is explaining that not only was he beautiful, but there were auspicious bodily signs in his bodily construction. So this science is called as physiognomy. Prabhupada explains in Bhagwatam purpose, physiognomy is a science of his through the bodily features to understand the greatness of a person. So glimpses of this are mentioned in Nectar of Devotion also, when the bodily features of the Lord are described. So it is explained that Mahapurushas also have, not only the Lord, but the Mahapurushas also have certain bodily signs in their construction, by which you can understand the Mahapurusha. Just like, no, we are not taught about Mahapurushas owing to the narrow-mindedness of the modern day civilization. But I remember in our education system, we were taught about biology about snakes. But we were taught about snakes, that how do you recognize a venomous snake from a non-venomous snake? There were features. The features. I don't remember them exactly, but you can recognize that. Okay, it's a poisonous one by the constitution of their scales and various other bodily construction features. I mean, from a distance only you can recognize. That okay, here is a poisonous one, or here is not a poisonous one. It's okay, no problem, no, like that. So yes, just like you can understand by bodily construction about the snake is poisonous or not poisonous, you can understand by bodily construction how great a person, how great a person is. So that science is called as physiognomy, Christian science. Prabhupada is mentioning that. And then Prabhupada is taking that to the transmigration of the soul. So the bodily construction and the mental state are linked to each other. That's what Prabhupada is proving. So because the mental state becomes the next body. So Prabhupada is establishing that. You see, Prabhupada very beautifully articulating. Prabhupada is telling, you see, the mental state and the body, they're linked to each other. So the body reflects the mental state reflects the next body. Yeah. Both are linked to each other. So there is nothing no, quite shocking about what is mentioned. That's normal because what is the proof? Proof is reincarnation. So you see, Prabhupada, very succinct, very powerful. Is it? So Prabhupada is telling, there's nothing, ooh about it. That's the principle. The body and the mind are linked to each other. What is the state of the body can speak about the mind, and the mental state speaks about the body. Not only of this body, next body also. Reincarnation. Amazing. Short puppet, powerful. Yudhavaksha Prihaksh Shronir Valivalhu Dalodaraha Avartanabhirojasvi Kanchanorur Udagrapat. The chest of Maharaj Prithu was very broad, and his waist. What is waist? Waist. Abdomen? Waist.
Yeah.
Waist. Oh, the chest was broad and waist was also thick, and his abdomen wrinkled by the lines of the skin. Huh? Resemble where six pack. Resemble in construction. No, it was wrinkled by the lines of the skin. It was wrinkled by the lines of the skin. And okay, so do you want to say wrinkle line of the skin is six pack?
Insertion rather. That's why you go say six pack. वो उनके बीच का मसल प्रोमिनेंट हो जाता है तो वो लाइंस भाग में देखो टाइप की लाइंस बॉडी का
Oh, that is packed. Only 6 packs are there.
only six are there.
Some people say they have 8 packs.
Six है पर वो बॉडी का नेट की बीच में इंसर्शन रहता है तो इंसर्शन for fascia है facial
Okay, so that resembled in construction the leaf of a banyan tree. Leaf of banyan tree. His navel was coiled and deep. His thighs were of a golden hue, and his instep was arched. I don't know what is instep. Instep. Okay, his instep. The chest was broad, the waist was also thick, and the abdomen was a leaf of banyan tree, and the navel was coiled and deep, and thighs were golden, and instep was arched. Oh, it was arched foot, not flat foot. Okay. Sukshma Vakrishita Snigdha Murdaja Kambukandara Mahadane Dukulagraye Paridhayopaviyacha. The black slick hair on his head were very fine and curly, and his neck, like a conch shell, was decorated with auspicious lines. He wore a very valuable dhoti. There was a nice wrapper on the upper part of his body. Vyanjita Sheshagatra Shri Niyame Nyasta Bhushanaha Krishna Jinadhara Shriha Bhushapani Kritochita. As Maharaj Prithu was being initiated to perform the sacrifice, he had to leave aside his valuable dress, and therefore his natural bodily beauty was visible. It was very pleasing to see him put on a black deer skin and wear a ring of kusha grass on his finger. For this increased the natural beauty of his body. It appears that Maharaj Prithu observed all the regulative principles before he performed sacrifice. So Maharaj Prithu was very sincere, so he was following all the details, and he was very obedient. And therefore it is said that he observed all the regulative principles before he performed the sacrifice. So Maharaj Prithu's beauty was so resplendent in the setting of simplicity, in the simple dress we mentioned here. So basically, the radiance which was coming out of Maharaj Prithu was the radiance of obedience, obedience to the Lord's instruction, and Shanagati. So that was so amazing.
Deer skin, Prabhu, deer generally split by lion. So deer, how they get skin of the deer? Like, because lion eats the deer, and they kill deer or what?
No, some deers die, the original deaths. That deer's skin can be used. That is the injunction. Not every deer dies because of the lion. Some deers will die the natural death. Other than the lion, the death other than the lion. Their skin can be used.
So it's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, Jnani of deer skin stay use करते हैं ना ताकि जल्दी जाना पलटी ना रहे तो meditation में पहले
Yes. Deer skin.
Deer को शिकायत
Huh?
deer को शिकायत नहीं देते.
प्रॉपर होते हैं करते allowed now.
They are allowed to handle deer.
But that they do only for learning.
Yes, no problem.
Not all.
घर में targeting के लिए
Just like a doctor may not kill rats all the life, but only for testing the efficacy of a drug. They may do. Similarly, only for learning they may do that. Not indiscriminately. It is just like a biologist killing a rat. The biologist only does that when he is learning. He may experiment on rats a lot, and whenever he makes a new medicine, he may try it on rats. So it's not indiscriminate. That's the point. It is considered sin. Okay, so killing rats for experimental biological purposes is
you cannot avoid that.
no, killing rats is considered sin. Yes, no doubt about that. So, but because so it is considered sinful. So, I mean, the Shastras are not saying you kill rats for purpose of biology. The Shastras are not saying that. The Shastras are giving Ayurveda. I don't have to experiment. You read the scriptures nicely, and you practice Krishna consciousness nicely, then so much may not be needed. Hit and trial. Hit and trial is needed because people don't follow like that. So now the point is that the killing of the rats even modern day, like a genuine researcher will not kill indiscriminately. That is what we were saying. Throughout his career, he may not kill, like that. He may only kill for the sake of learning. That's all. Similarly, a Kshatriya may not be indiscriminate in killing. So, will not be indiscriminate. Huh? He will get sinful reaction or not. If a Kshatriya goes, he'll get sinful reaction. So yes, if